We're broadcasting live from Alexandria, a small town in Lambe municipality in the Eastern Cape, where DA Leader John Steenhuisen is spending the day finding out what the service issues here are in the specific town. This morning he addressed farmers in Alexandria who got to share with them some of the struggles they are facing in terms of stock theft, poor service delivery, poor infrastructure, and then a lack of safety from the farmers as well. But joining me now is the DA Leader John Steenhuisen, talks exactly about his tour of the small town, exactly what he aims to achieve through his tour here in the Eastern Cape. John, this morning you spoke about Lambe municipality being an economic thriving town once upon a time, but over the years dilapidating, and saying that they need to go back to its former glory.
Yeah, well, I think that small towns like this have been incredibly neglected, and there's a lot of focus on the metropolitan areas, but the real crisis in service delivery is happening in small town South Africa, and Lambe municipality is a classic example of that. Roads that are crumbling, infrastructure that's just collapsing on a daily basis, and residents who are suffering and bearing the brunt of this, as well as the breakdown of law and order in these small towns where there's not enough police personnel to be able to keep people safe, and you're lacking the specialized units, particularly when it comes to rural safety. So it's important to listen, but then also to explain to people what we're doing, where we're given an opportunity to govern to improve these, where the rural safety plan is being applied, where we're working hard to end load shedding in municipalities that are run by us. And the key message for Lambe today was we already have 30% here. Just a little bit more, we can take over this municipality and do what we've done in Kocha municipality and in other municipalities where the DA is given an opportunity to govern.
Key to that, John, you also emphasize the importance of unity, that you guys cannot do it alone, that you need really everyone to join hands in that. And I know that specifically Port Alfred has got a huge township economy which is really growing and really strong. Are there plans to actually maximize that, to also grow that type of economy in that town?
Yes, of course. The less formal and the township economy is essential to be able to grow. This is where the entrepreneurship bed comes from, where it's birthed from. And we've got to find ways of encouraging that. Far too many municipalities have far too much red tape that prevents small township businesses particularly from being able to grow and succeed. We need to have a jobs revolution in the country, and we need to be looking at ways in which we firstly remove all the obstacles to starting up a business in the country, whether it's municipal, whether it's provincial, whether it's national regulations. Get that out the way so we encourage entrepreneurship. Then you've got to have support, municipal support programs, and this is what I've seen in travels around the world, where cities become incubators of jobs. Cities can't sit back and say, and municipalities can't sit back and say, well, this is a responsibility of national government. It's everyone's responsibility to create jobs in the country and to get our economy moving. And so what you should be doing is having hubs where support is provided for those small businesses, where expertise is brought in, where you're workshopping young entrepreneurs about how to start a business, cash flow, how to manage stock, all of those things. Because the more entrepreneurs we can create and grow, the more jobs we're going to create in the country.
And then, John, obviously you can't speak about small towns and not speak about the stronghold, which is coalitions. And you were speaking about earlier on that it is becoming something that's become a norm now. And you were going back to Nelson Mandela Bay, we were speaking about how the DHS is in 2016, but now there are already talks now that perhaps during this week the DA leaders, Mr. Odendaal, might be removed as mayor from the Nelson Mandela Metro. Just your comments on that.
Well, I think it'll be a great pity if he's removed, because I think finally, for the first time, we started to see some stability again in Nelson Mandela Bay. And it'll be really sad if the coalition of corruption was to come in and to unseat that. And I think that voters should be holding those parties accountable that are responsible for the destabilization of these metros. Nobody wins when a metropolitan municipality is in a state of chaos, and we've got to focus on stabilizing those municipalities. I think that voters need to be very careful about how they vote in these municipalities, and make sure that they're giving at least one party a very strong, stable, anchoring position in that municipality. I think it would be a very, very sad day for the municipality, and this is precisely why we've introduced a large number of legislation and in the form of private members' bills in the name of our Chief Whip in Parliament, Siviwe Karube, who is focusing on how we can stabilize coalitions in the country. They are going to be the way of the future. There are going to be more and more of them around the country, because a proportional representation system will always end up with coalitions of some form or the other. So things like limiting the numbers of motions of no confidence in a year, thresholds for parties to be represented within a council so that you don't have an over-fragmentation of the vote. And these are things which we'll obviously be discussing going forward, but I think it is essential that we do, all parties, including the ANC, start to look at ways for us to stabilise coalition governments in the country, because it's ultimately the people who suffer when the revolving door is swinging around wildly, continuously. Thank you.
Well, that was dear Leader John Steenhuisen speaking about his visit to Alexandria this morning, speaking about some of the challenges faced by this municipality, speaking about issues of poor service delivery, dilapidating infrastructure, also speaking about the issue of the NMB Metro. We have heard allegedly now that this week the DA Mayor Retief Orendal might be taken out of his seat, saying that it will be a sad day that happens, but also saying that more than importantly, it's important that we understand that coalitions are the way of the future, and key to them working is for unity being between all the other parties. For now, let's go back to your studio.